November series, team of the week time then. I've got shirts 1 to 15. I'm going to pick the best player in their position over the weekend. And there were some absolutely belting games. And so many of these shirts, really difficult to decide who to give it to. So your thoughts in the comments down below. Give the video a thumbs up and hit subscribe as well. Also at the end of the video, I'll be picking my top 3 players overall from the games this weekend, which have been a little bit harder to watch, I have to say, this weekend, because I was actually at Twickenham, which just made getting in front of the games that bit trickier. And I wanted to enjoy my time in London as well. But I've watched them all, and like I say, some absolutely outstanding individual performances. And I'm going to start at loosehead prop, Jean-Baptiste Gros for France. Now, it's strange. It might seem strange. If you just watch the first half of that game between France and New Zealand, you're thinking, how on earth has Tim picked a French prop in his team of the week? But they sorted it out, and Jean-Baptiste Gros was outstanding. It was a statement performance from him for France in a position where they really needed him to step up, with Cyril Bay being on the sidelines at the moment. Tamati Williams deserves a mention. Jamie Batty as well for Scotland. There was some other decent performances, but I thought Gros was great. Matt Fessler, of course, he's going to get the nod at hooker, isn't he? 3 tries. I mean, yes, his 3 tries were team tries. It was a powerful Australian maul, and he was just the guy at the back steering the ship and dotting it down. But he did his job brilliantly. The set piece was good for Australia generally, which is good to see. Malvaca for France was a beast of a hooker as well. I think he deserves a mention. But Matty Fessler is going to get the nod. And again, bearing in mind how the first half went for France, Georges-Henri Colombe is my nod at tight head prop. Might seem strange, but again, France grew into the game, and he showed so much maturity for a guy relatively new to international rugby. I think it was only like his 5th cap. Put in a very, very strong performance. Played basically the whole game because Tavita Tatafu went off. Maybe looks like he could get a little bit fitter and leaner, and when he does, he is going to take over. Him and Tatafu are taking over from Uwini Atonio, and France's number 3 jersey is in good hands. I thought Colombe just grew and grew and grew into the game. A little mention for Vilko Low, for Vincent Koch as well. Tyrell Lomax is ace. But there you go. In the second row, I've gone for Pedro Rubiolo of Argentina. So often Argentina's top tackler. He was in this game again. And I reckon he's one of those players. You've played in teams and you know guys like this. The ones that get very little credit, but you know how important they are to your team. Pedro Rubiolo is that guy. He does so much unseen graft. Well, I saw it and I appreciated it. I thought he was great. Just rattling people, hitting people and hitting rucks all day long. That's all he does. RG Snyman was outstanding for South Africa. So he's the other lock. Will this lead to a more regular partnership with Ibn Etzebeth? The first time the two of them have ever started together, which is just mind-blowing. So who knows what Rassi's going to do, but Snyman, you were sort of thinking at one point, did they both stay on? They both stayed on, didn't they? And Ulrich Lowe came on in the back row, but you were sort of thinking if you're going to take one of them off, it would have to be Ibn Etzebeth. That's how good Snyman was playing. Those octopus arm one-handed offloads are deadly. A mention for Manny Meafu, who is a physical freak as well, and he's very, very good. Now, I've had to juggle the blindside flank around and the back row around because I couldn't accommodate all the players I wanted to. And I just thought there were so many good performances from players in the number 8 jersey, which I'll come to in a second, that I had to shunt one of them across the back row, even over and above Peter Steph de Toy, even over and above Juan Martin Gonzalez and Paul Boudahon, who were all excellent for their respective countries. But Bobby V, there was one moment in commentary where it was David Flatman described it as a Welshman running at Bobby V as trying to run into a parked car. He's been so good for Australia this year. And even when there were the bad times, Bobby V was showing up. But he's very prominent in an Australian team whose fortunes are on the rise. Across the back row then, I went for Josh van der Fleer. A lot of good contenders for the 7 jersey as well. Sia Khaleesi had a very strong game for South Africa. Sam Underhill was one of England's best players. Charles Olivon off the bench for France was great. And Shukindidze, I think I've said your name right. I apologise if I haven't. The Georgian 7 what an engine that guy's got. But talk about engines, Josh van der Fleer's work rate is off the charts. He is playing in this November series like he played when he won World Player of the Year. He's just like a piece of iron at the minute. So tough. And yeah, so influential in Ireland squeaking that win against the Argies. As for Argentinians, I should mention Oviedo, who was great. He so nearly got the number 8 jersey. I mentioned already how good the performances were from the number 8s, but I've gone for Georgia's Jalagonia, who was incredible. Watching that game yesterday, he was just everywhere. It was the passion with which he and Georgia generally played that game. You could see how much that game against Italy meant to them. To make a statement to World Rugby as much as anything, to Six Nations, saying we're here, don't forget about us. They so badly wanted to win. And that was at the heart of the just sheer desire to go and make 30 tackles. The Georgian 7 made 29 tackles. Jalagonia made 30 tackles. And every time you saw Georgia with the ball, he was quite often trucking it up, carrying as well. It was an amazing individual performance. Beast mode was activated. But like I say, in terms of other players, Oviedo, Gregory Aldrit was great again for France. Josh Bayliss had some great moments for Scotland as well. But there you go, gone for the Georgian. Your thoughts, that's the pack. And on scrum half, I've gone for Jameson Gibson-Park. I thought Cam Roygaard was excellent for New Zealand. I think it was an injury. I'm hoping it was an injury, which was why Scott Robertson took him off. Because after 50 minutes, I don't know, maybe Roygaard stays on, New Zealand win. I think he had a little knock though, didn't he? Because he was grabbing his leg as he went through for that try. Dupont was outstanding in defence, and when he got a platform to play behind, started to show some amazing touches. Marquez for Portugal, Williams for South Africa, but Jameson Gibson-Park, every time Ireland play well and feel like they've got their attacking mojo back, it's the tempo, it's the decision-making that Gibson-Park brings. He's brilliant. Tomas Ramos had to be the fly half. There were some good performances. Marcus Smith was the creative spark for England. Noah Lolesio is doing a really good job for Australia at fly half. But Tomas Ramos was the standout 10 this week. And he's not even, first and foremost, a 10. 15 at club level and predominantly his international career. But at 10, he was the creative spark. He was pulling the strings, kicking intelligently. 14 tackles as well from a defensive point of view. Is a proper shift from Ramos. And he nailed his kicks when he needed to, 100% from the tee. Centres, I found this one really hard as well. And just like back row, I've had to do a little bit of shuffling because there wasn't a standout 12 this week. Last week, there were loads of standout 12s. And it was hard to pick. And I had to leave some really good inside centres out. But I didn't think there was a standout 12 this week. DLND was decent, had moments, but I've gone for 2 13s, starting with Gary Ringrose, who was absolutely class. Focal point for Ireland in attack, defensive rock, and yeah, I just thought he was huge. Him and Van der Fleer and Gibson-Park are the reason that they won that game. And Len Ikitau for Australia, another player for Australia who's just been very, very effective. Shifted into the 13 jersey and that worked very well. And, he kept Sua'ili on the bench and another selection by Joe Schmidt, which has been vindicated. As for the wingers, Louis Bielbiere, how quick is this kid? He's an absolute freak. Just gassing, who was it? Was it Sevu Reece and Anton Linnett-Brown? Just the wheels. Yeah, special players just make things happen, and things happen when Louis Bielbiere is on the pitch. Louis Bielbiere, one of 3 players who was in the Team of the Week last week and is in the Team of the Week this week. Who were the others? Oh yeah, it was Josh van der Fleer, Louis Bielbiere, and I'll come to the other one in just a moment. But not before, Cheslin Colby. Absolutely class, deadly finisher. He had some great kicks out of hand. He did get caught out in the first 2 minutes defensively when Ollie Slightholme scored that try, but for the next 78 minutes, he was near untouchable and gave a showcase which demonstrates why he is a World Player of the Year nominee. Absolutely brilliant. And fullback Tom Wright, the 3rd player who was in the Team of the Week last week and is in my team of the week this week. A hat-trick for Tom Wright. To think Eddie Jones left him out. He left him out of his World Cup squad, didn't he? I know he didn't pick him. Can that be... Did he leave him out of... I think he left him out of his World Cup squad. Just mind-boggling. Self-destruction from Eddie Jones there. How good is Tom Wright? Juan Cruz Malia scored an incredible try for Argentina. David Niniashvili, really good for Georgia. And Tom Jordan for Scotland was so much fun to watch. I had to go for Tom Wright. He was that good. I just want to give a mention to some replacements. A couple of replacements that I thought really were the best in class this week. Vincent Koch for South Africa was immense coming off the bench. Even scrummaged on the wrong side when they were down a man. And Charles Olivon. Really, yeah, he just brought a level of assurance. He sorted their line out. He brought leadership. And whether he was playing second row or back row, looked absolutely brilliant for France. So the battle is on for Olivon to try and get his place in the starting 15 back. As for the top 3 players of the week, I found this so hard. So what I had to come down on in the end, I was looking at all of these names and going, who are the best 3 of the week? And there were such good performances in such different ways. I found it really difficult. So I just basically came up with a criteria. Who had a performance that means their team won but might have lost had they not been on the field? And with that in mind, Thomas Ramos is at number 3 in my team of the week. Flawless goal kicking. Managed France beautifully, especially in that second half. Tactically astute. And yeah, I love the fact he has his socks rolled down and doesn't waste any time on the kicks. He just puts the ball down, walks back, steps up, nails it. Number 2, Josh van der Fleer. Yeah, Ireland don't win that game without him. He's so important to what they do. When Ireland were able to speed the ball up, it's because either his ball carries were so powerful or his clearing out of the ruck was so effective. The ball was on a plate for Jameson Gibson-Park. And his defence, I mean, was what, 25 tackles or thereabouts for Josh van der Fleer. And number 1, Cheslin Colby. It was a 9-point victory for the Springboks. They were under par, but they have gold dust in the form of Cheslin Colby. The finishes were amazing. Some of the kicks out of hand were awesome. He's an absolute worldie of a player. And there is my team of the week. There are my top 3 players. Your thoughts down below. Thank you very much for watching. Give the video a thumbs up. Hit subscribe. And we've got a whole other weekend of rugby coming up very soon. So lots to talk about and get excited about in the days ahead.